Hi, welcome to DebtFreeSpending.com. I'm Steph, I'm your host, and today I'm going to show you how to make a really neat crock-pot dish called Italian beef. I just had this for the first time at my mother-in-law's a couple months ago and I loved it. So when the new Taste of Home came out, this month's issue has a recipe for it. I was so excited to make it for myself and my family. So every Sunday night we have a family meal, and so we decided to try and venture out and make our own Italian beef. So I don't know if we can pan in on here a little bit, but we basically, last night when we went to the store, we bought 3.5 pounds of rump roast, and we put it in the crock pot overnight. Now the recipe actually says that you can brown it on both sides and then put everything in the crock pot together and, you know, kind of cook it that way overnight, but we decided to cook it first overnight. We just dumped out the fat and we just tore the meat apart, okay? And so the first thing that we're gonna do is we added 2 cups of water. That was the first thing. And then, you're probably hearing our dogs in the background, sorry about that. So we took 2 cups of water, poured it, shredded the beef, put the 2 cups of water in with it, and then the recipe called for 2 packets of regular Italian and a packet of zesty, but because we didn't do the 5 pounds of meat, we only did about 3.5. We put in the 1 zesty and the 1 just regular Italian seasoning. Then we put a packet of brown gravy in. So we just got the regular Great Value brown gravy for that. Stuck the packet of that in, just the dry powder for all these. And so what you're going to see me doing is kind of finishing up the recipe and cooking it for tonight. We also had to buy 6 count of hoagie rolls. You could buy more than that depending on how much meat you're making. So we've kind of modified the original recipe a little bit. So the normal recipe calls for 5 pounds of meat and then 2 cups of water, 1 medium onion chopped. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stick that in now. So I've chopped up my onion and I'll put that in. Oop, I'm going to fling half of it on the side. And by the way, I am not a gourmet chef, so just hang with me here. And then it's called for 4 cloves of garlic. So, and since we actually just buy our garlic minced usually like this, and we felt that about 1.5 tablespoons looked like about 4 cloves, and remember we're modifying our recipe so we don't want the full 4 cloves. So we're going to go ahead and put that in. So we have our garlic. Again, any recipe that I make I usually have to modify because I get heartburn a lot, so I like to try and make it so that I can actually eat it. So the next thing that it calls for is 2 tablespoons of crushed red pepper. So we actually just put 1 tablespoon in. My husband likes that stuff really hot. I don't like it that hot. So I'm putting 1 tablespoon and he can put the rest in for his and do it the way he wants it. You can always add later, but it's hard to take out once you put it in. The next thing that it calls for is 2 teaspoons of Worcestershire sauce, as we say in our area, or just Worcestershire sauce. So I'm not going to do a full 2 teaspoons. I'm just going to do probably 1.5 here. So we'll do 1 teaspoon, and I'll do about 1/2 there too. So 2 teaspoons of Worcestershire. We're going to mix that all together. And the last thing that it calls for is Italian, 2 tablespoons, I'm sorry, wait a second, 1 tablespoon of Italian seasoning. So I'm going to run and get my Italian seasoning here real quick. I'm actually going to add a little tiny bit of more water just because it cooked overnight, it just needs a little bit extra. So I'm going to get my Italian. And I actually don't keep Italian seasoning on hand. I actually just do a little bit of oregano and a little bit of basil. And since it's calling for 1 tablespoon of Italian flavoring, I'll probably just take 1/2 basil, 1/2 tablespoon of basil and 1/2 table of oregano. And that's kind of my Italian seasoning. If you don't have to buy something extra, you don't do it, because you're just kind of adding to your expenses. So I just kind of make my own Italian seasoning as recipes call for that. So I've kind of put everything in here. We're going to let it cook for about another 4 hours and have that for dinner. And if you could just pan in there, you can see the easiest way to make Italian beef. The most expensive thing for this recipe is actually the meat. It did call for different types of meat. It called for sirloin. Let me look here. beef sirloin tip roast was part of it, and that was very expensive when we went to the store. So basically what you want to do is just, we just went with rump roast because that was what we felt was the least expensive. Did you want to add something?
Put in a sandwich and put cheese on it?
And then basically you can make it into a sandwich. Adam's turning me along here. You can make it into a sandwich, put some cheese on that, some provolone or some American, put your meat on top, and serve it with some pepperoncinis on the side or some banana peppers, and you're good to go. All right, thanks for joining us.